Hello and welcome to another NUFC360 weekly podcast. Unfortunately, Will is not able to make it, so I'm back as substitute host. Whether or not you like it or not, you're stuck with us today. Johnny's here as always, and we've got Ben back from his celebrations in the League One playoff final at Wembley, where he saw his side Sunderland.
I was ill that weekend anyway, so it made my weekend a lot worse. But
we're all ill, to be fair. So.
Now, what we're going to do is we're going to kick off straight away with probably a couple of bits of news, but the one news that broke on Monday, and that's about this particular man. And we need to look at is the fact that it is the arrival of Dan Ashworth, a game changer. And because he's been missing for so long, we'll go to Ben to start this one.
Well, thank you for going for me first. But anyway, I think he will be judging off the impact he has had at Brighton. And not only that, but just from hearing what fans of theirs and people in the press generally have said about him, I think it's the right groundworks to start building my way up. It goes along with the transfers, but it also means that we're going to be smart in the transfer window and how we recruit, which is it's something we kind of needed, because you can have all the money in the world, but you could throw it in the wrong areas, and that's when it ends up maybe wasted. So I think it's a really good start for us to before the summer to hire someone like him, and I know we've been interested for a while. So yeah, I mean, it'd be brilliant to unearth some gems as well, and hopefully bring them into the team for hopefully a cheaper cost as well, because I know a lot of teams will be holding us ransom a little bit again this summer. Perhaps not as bad with us now having a bit of a bigger transfer window to work within. But yeah, I'm really happy, and I think he will be quite a game changer coming in this summer as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like it's I actually genuinely think he's probably the most important signing that we'll make. I think not just from a transfer perspective, but the fact he's been with England, he's been with the Premier League team in Brighton. They obviously have a very kind of distinctive way of playing and way of working. I think looking at the infrastructure, getting the whole facilities correct, and the whole background of the club, I think his experience is absolutely invaluable. It's a world-class addition, and as you say, an eye for players, no doubt as well. And right, the likelihood is that we paid in excess to get him to start, beginning of the summer, beginning of the transfer window, because obviously his gardener leave isn't up for another 3 months officially, and obviously
I think it's rumored to be about 3 million.
Yeah, well, and with good reason. If he shaves off, a few million here, a few million there, finds us a gem, absolutely worth it. Let's get this rebuilding started.
Now, see, you're mentioning the fact that he's going to be starting quite quickly in terms of getting players, one of which seems to be breaking probably more so from the French side of things than the English side of things at the moment. And that is that talks seem to be progressing very well with a certain Hugo Ekitike, which a lot of people may remember from January.
Yeah, I think as well, hearing Ekitike speak since then, he sounded quite mature as well, which was quite impressive to hear. He said that he wanted to stay there for a full season and basically apply his trade there and for the full year. And with him being 19, to have that sort of opinion with so much money and attention surrounding it, it's quite mature. So it's definitely, I think now that we're getting into summer, we can spend a bit more time chipping away at teams like that, and same for Botman as well. It gives us, a lot more power. I think Ekitike has now played a full year. We've got Callum Wilson back, and Ekitike is probably the right sort of player to bring in going forward, because obviously injuries like we've suffered this year may have proven detrimental potentially. So I think to have that extra forward who's a star for the future, who may take a little while to adapt, but with the likes of Callum Wilson, Chris Wood already there, you learn the tricks of the trade within the Premier League. So he'll bring his quality to that. So I'm excited, and I think he's definitely a possibility.
I genuinely think it's one of the most exciting signings we could have made. I know we've been linked with every man and his dog since the end of the season. It's been ridiculous, but I genuinely think he is up there with the most exciting that we have. 19-year-old, as you say, young, broken through, scored goals. Yes, he's been injured for the last few months, but the fact that PSG and Borussia Dortmund wanted him, or were at least looking at him, it's not like the old days where we used to shop in France for the bargain basement in terms of, pray and spray essentially. So, the Clavellas, Covans, these sort of players where you're thinking, oh, they may be good, they may be not. The fact that he's 19, the fact that he's a striker or at least a fast winger, perhaps, potentially. And as you say, learn his trade. He won't be a starter, I don't think. I think Cam Wilson will still be the top dog.
Didn't we say that about Jose Perez?
We did. One of the ones that Ashley got right, or Ashley's team got right. But I genuinely think...
Let's not give him any credit.
I know.
Now, the one thing obviously which we're focusing on with Dan Ashworth is the fact, you're looking at the first team and you're looking at the signings aspect. But one of the things that Dan Ashworth is probably going to be brought in to do is to probably revamp the academy setup and to change things, so that we do have an academy setup that is going to produce the players for the future. Because that's ideally what you want to have. He's probably going to have input in the women's team. He'll probably have input in things like maybe the training setup and stuff like that, and how the player's going to be. So, I think it's a case of the DNA thing. All the teams from the first team downwards will all play the same level, like the same style of football and the same formations. And then that way, it's when you do move up the age groups, it's just going to be something as simple as a case of, right, okay, you moved up there, but you know how we're going to play because we've played that way, all the time there. So it's one of those things there. And I think the fact that Brighton have tried so hard to, and they put him on garden leave and not letting him go so easily, I think tells you how good they think he is. Because if he wasn't that good, they'd have let him go with no problem.
Absolutely.
The other thing he brings, obviously, is contacts within the game as well. So it's not just players or not just methods. It's actually... he'll know top players from his time with the FA, from his time with Brighton. He'll know that top scouts. He'll know top chief execs. He'll know all these people who actually run the infrastructure of the clubs.
He'll know Dan Burn.
He will know Dan well very well. Maybe even Sanchez, the goalkeeper. You never know. Just saying.
Yeah. If we're going to get a keeper, I don't want him.
No.
Really? Oh, I think he's quite good.
I think he's the same as Dubravka. He's good, but he's prone to mistakes.
Yeah. All keepers are. I think it's always highlighted, isn't it? The keeper's always.
Anyway, I think in terms of keeper, I think it's Henderson. I think that's probably pretty.
No one. Yeah. Yeah,
well,
I agree.
Dan Ashworth might know him as well. You never know.
Might too. England setup, yeah.
Even better if we end up doing a deal which gets called all going in the other way to Manchester.
I've heard about that actually. That's quite an interesting.
Tell you what, we'll throw in Freddie Woodman as well, just to
of all the keepers you want.
Well, not all the keepers. We want to keep Dubravka.
Oh.
So, do you think, just on the final though from both of you, do you think that Dan Ashworth is the signing of the season?
I think. I mean, especially for $3 million, like you said, if that's the cost. For a player, you're paying $3 million for the worth. It's probably you're not expecting very much, are you? But then looking at him in terms of, like you say, his contacts and his general ability at what he does, $3 million is chips, isn't it? Really for us. I don't know why I said that phrase, but
$3 million is chips.
Chips. That's the expression I was looking for.
Are you sure you don't mean cheesy chips?
Yeah. Every single week. But no, I personally think for $3 million you cannot go wrong. And like Johnny said as well, if Brighton were fighting that hard to keep a hold of them, and they've had so much success for, perhaps no disrespect on the size of the club, hopefully on a bigger scale, you never know what sort of things you can do with the club as well.
Yeah, 100%. For me too. Sign of the season. Bruno, amazing. Kieran Trippier, amazing. Dan Ashworth, next level.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to your thoughts of, you named a couple of players. We're going to move on and we're going to do what we had originally planned until the Dan Ashworth news came in and the Katiki news came in. We're just going to solely do this. So we'll move on to this now. and that's it. We're going to do our end of season awards. The first one that we're going to do and that we're going to bring up is who is our most improved player this season. Probably quite a difficult list because there's probably quite a few to look at. Yeah, more than the ones that are just on the screen there. We'll go with you this time, Johnny. Who would you say, if you want to give a couple and then give you one that you think's best, then you can do that.
It's a difficult one because the obvious one is Joe Linton, because he's switched positions and he's turned his life around essentially, which is, it's undeniable. He's been out, for me, player of the season and whatnot. But he's taken Joe Linton out of the equation, I suppose, because that's the obvious one. I'd probably go Ryan Fraser. I think for me, end of last season, the beginning of this, when obviously we are under previous management, I just think he looked lost. He didn't look interested. He wasn't fit. He wasn't playing. The final season he had with Bournemouth, or the season before he had with Bournemouth, where he was, him and Wilson were scoring goals for fun and assisting for fun. It's slightly, it was slightly dour. I just didn't think we got the best out of him. I think this season, since Howe's come in and played him in these better positions and further up the field, his delivery's been good. He's scored a couple of goals. He's put himself about. He runs himself to the ground every time he plays. And his attitude's really good. I think you now enjoy watching him play, whereas previously it was quite frustrating. So other than Joe Linton, which I think again is for me is obvious, I think Ryan Fraser is probably most improved from what I've seen in a Newcastle shirt.
Gonna, to be fair, with obviously Joe Linton being an obvious one, I'll go with the same thing. And then with Fraser and Shelby, because you kind of knew their quality was there, I always thought this will take like a good manager to get them playing again properly. Whereas with Kraft, he surprised me completely because I didn't used to be a massive fan of him. I used to think he tucks in too much and he'd leave gaps at the back and he just, like you say, get lost as well. But I don't know what seems to have happened to him, but his positional sense and what surprised me even more is his ability to go forward as well, because he's showing a real quality on the ball and a confidence, which when you've been battered for, how long has he been here? Like a year and a half or something like that? Is that about right?
2 seasons, yeah, 2 seasons.
Like when you take that much abuse for 2 years or that much criticism, he was one of those players I expected to be considered deadwood by the end of the season and another player that we're going to get rid of. But to be fair to him, he's fought for his place behind Trippier as well, and also with him being able to play across the defence. If he carries on that same ability that he's shown since Eddie Howe's came in, then there's no means for why he can't compete for a starting place potentially, or even push Trippier. But I mean, obviously Trippier's got that quality where he probably will start. But it's great to see Kraft improve so much and completely prove me wrong, to be fair, and probably quite a lot of people as well.
Would you keep him at the end of the season? Like now, would you keep him?
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. I think if you're looking at it, I actually agree with you on Kraft. I think he's turned everyone's opinion around. But the stupid that he's constantly called up to the Swedish national side, so he's got to be doing. He's got to have something about him to keep on getting called up. I would say probably January time when we're bringing Trippier in, I would have put it as Trippier, Manquillo, and Kraft.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's Trippier, Kraft, and then Manquillo. So if we're looking at one of those three that you're going to go, it's Manquillo that's got to go, because Kraft has 100% deserved his chance, to the point of where you're starting Kraft and you're going, do we really need to rush Trippier back? No, but it was that point rather than going, Chris, we need to get Trippier back. It was just a case of, do you know what? Yeah, he's doing well, and he was holding his own against whether or not it was Liverpool or Man City. Some really good players in that, and Arsenal in that as well. He was again. Well, to be honest, they were all really, really good for that game, but just phenomenal in that. So that's the one that I would say. I agree with the Shelby and the Fraser aspect of it. They've got the quality and they've shown that. Mm-hmm. So we've seen that level of quality from them before. It was just a case of getting that out of them. Joe Linton, for me, I know it might be the obvious one, but you can't not give him most improved, given the fact that he's turned himself around from being out the door practically as far as the fans are concerned. To be cases where there's stories about Liverpool looking for Joe Linton and I say no, you don't. Well, you're not getting him. Yeah, no, yeah, and that's the case. It's not easy. He's went from we'll give you. We'll let him go to anyone. Yeah, just give for 10 million. You can have him. Yeah, we don't mind. We'll lose money on him. To now you're not having him at any cost, and he's worked so hard to do that. And I'm just grateful that he's been able to get the appreciation from the fans, and he's able to soak it up and enjoy it because I think it's deserved.
Yeah.
So shall we go with this award? That are we all agreed it's got to go to Joe Linton?
Yeah.
I think so. I think just an honourable mention as well to Fabian Schär. I think he has been very, very good. Second half of the season, particularly. Best I've seen him play, obviously, in a Newcastle shirt by a stretch. So he's been very good. But yeah, Joe Linton, it's got to be another option.
Good.
And we'll go with the next award that we're looking at, which is who is the player of the season. Again, doesn't necessarily have to be the ones that are on there. It could just be a case of those that you think deserve it. Funny enough, there's one player on there that's been on both the most improved and the player of the season, but it's a very difficult one to choose. In reality, it's hard to think of that. Ben, we'll go with you first. What's your thoughts on it?
Where I struggle to make my decision is I always think Bruno's impact is just been amazing. But I always think he's played half a season, so then it's like hard to almost pick him for the fact that I feel like that because these players have transformed and because they've done that through the season, then they have been better. Joe Linton is actually the one I was thinking in my head in terms of player of the season because when he dropped into midfield, I think that physicality came into it. And I genuinely think that did actually transform us as a team because he took the pressure off a lot of players by steamrolling through teams and being able to hold the ball up in midfield. It was almost like a target man in midfield who could take the ball and run as well. But then I suppose the start of the year is what always it blows my mind a little bit how bad actually we were at the start of the year with all those players. I suppose because of pure quality and consistency, perhaps I might have to switch it to Bruno. Because since he's came into the team, he's settled right in. It could probably be quite difficult to settle him with the pace of the Premier League. You know what I mean, like Trippier has played in the Premier League before. He was previously in an Atletico Madrid team who are very defensively solid. I think with Lyon in the French league, it can be quite different in terms of the pace. So I think for Bruno to step into the heart of the midfield and just dictate against so many teams and add goals to the game and be able to defend as well. He has been the perfect player, and if I'm going to be honest, I think I'm going to pick him as my player of the season because I just think from impact to consistency and overall quality, he has been head and shoulders. To be fair, hasn't he?
Yes, he's been awesome. He's absolutely world class. I'm going to go slightly differently. So I'm going to go with Dan Burn. And the reason I'm going to go Dan Burn is I know he's, again, same as Bruno's only played half a season, but we leaked so many goals before Christmas. Like, we conceded so many goals. We looked awful at the back. We didn't look solid at all. You know, teams opening up at will. I think him and the combination of, Target as well on that side. Trippier, obviously, when he first came in the team and he started before he got injured. Obviously, kind of a solid reinforcement, but I just think he has been the one who's led by example. He's obviously a Geordie, 12 million, absolute steal, to be honest. And obviously Bruno's been fantastic and, all that sort of stuff. But I personally expected that. a 40 million quid player, Brazil international, centre midfielder. I think you're getting good pedigree here. But Dan Burton was kind of almost an under the radar signing. And I just think he's steadied the ship. And he's, the games that we've won, like when we're in that run, Jan, Feb time, was like 1-0s and 2-1s. We weren't conceding. Like it was like, you know, we kept a load of clean sheets. I just think he was such a big part of that. Yes, Julian's been great and the turnaround's been great. Bruno's been awesome, obviously, in terms of quality. You know, we had a few others who have been really good. Matt Targett was in the shout. I would put him second because he's had a similar impact. But I think because Burns' central defender, he has more of influence, and obviously, I suppose he's more responsible for the defence. So, yeah, for me, only half a season as well. But I just think his impact's been so good that I've got to give it a Dan Burn.
See, now I've got to go. Now I've got to sit and then go. Do I go with someone completely different and we then have to work out
we're all trying to change it,
or do we just try and make it as simple and go right? Okay, let's pick one or the other. It's a difficult one because I think you could probably give a shout for most of the team to be like the players of the season. Yeah. Trippier with his 2 free kicks against Everton and Villa probably pivotal in us getting the run to put to where we are in staying up. Obviously, Dan Burns' arrivals solidified the back along with obviously Matt Targett. The transformation of Joe Linton, to a point you could look at there. I also think our record with Shelby in the midfield, when we didn't have him in there, we seemed to lose more games because of that. You then got Bruno coming in and just showing his class from like minute one. You then look at the fact of do we then? It's so difficult. I don't think. The one player which I don't think could be in with the name of it is Alan Saint-Maximin. He's had some good moments, but I just don't think he's up there with the people that we've already named.
I agree. Yeah.
Purely because we've given Joe Linton the most improved, and he's already had the player of the season, through the official club award. I'd probably give it to Bruno. Just because I think, for him to come in, Dan Burns done great, but he's been in the Premier League. He's been there, seen it, and done it. Bruno hasn't. He's come in from a French league, and we all know sometimes the French league is quite a difficult league to come in from. Yeah. He's came in, and he's just hit the ground running, and he's looked every bit of £40 million midfielder. To be honest, probably a bit more in that sense there. So I think for that one, we're probably going to have to go with Bruno. Just for his magic.
To be fair, I wouldn't have
very much.
I don't think I would have complained with a lot of players if anyone else had really won, which is a really good sign. I mean, at least we've got plenty to choose from this year, unlike previous.
So we won't do manager of the season because it's easy for us to choose on that one.
We know, yeah.
I know that 1-1 draw against Palace was pivotal. We're going to move to the final award that we're going to do, and again, this is a difficult one because there's so many that you could think of, but we are going to look at it, and that is, what is your moment of the season? And like I said, I know there's but there's just a few there which you're looking at, which is the takeover, Eddie Howe being appointed, the away win at Leeds, which you could probably say was probably the turning point in the run that we had, and then obviously for atmosphere and also the way that the game played was the final home game of the season against Arsenal. That's just 4, and these were just things that I picked out in my head and there, but there's so many more. Yeah, and it's hard to pick one. But we'll go with you, Ben. What's your moment of the season?
Wow. So starting with the takeover,
other than Sunderland getting promoted via the
I saw you trying button there. So start with the takeover alone. I mean, a historical moment. Yeah, I mean it's. I think that's what lit the bonfire essentially. And then you've got obviously Eddie Howe coming in. The impact wouldn't have been made with. I don't know if any other manager coming in that we were interested in possibly could have had the same effect as what Eddie Howe did, in terms of his influence, in terms of his management skills generally. And then you've got perhaps the beginning of the fight back against Leeds, or at least one of the most pivotal moments in terms of a win. And then you've got the peak of it, where we stayed up and beat Arsenal. So I think it's a really hard one because we've had. I mean, it could be moment of half the season at least, but I think I've got to go with the takeover just for the absolute pure scenes outside the ground. Just I don't think I've ever felt so excited as a Newcastle fan. My dad always reminds me of how good it was back in the 90s and things like that. But I think for once in my time supporting Newcastle, I felt, wow, we've got such a chance here. And no matter what happened, I think by the end of the season, I'd by that point just being taken over was such a big moment for all of us. I think probably everyone can agree. And I think the other moments are fantastic and led to the moment where we're kind of looking forward to the next season, which I don't think I've ever said for years. But no, I think I'm gonna have to go with the takeover just on the pure massiveness of it.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think the takeover. Yeah, what was it? 5 o'clock on the 7th of October. I mean, that was the time and date of
I think it was just after
the big
5
announcement.
o'clock.
Yeah, I think obviously a huge piece. And I actually think the Tottenham game. I know we got beat, but before the Tottenham game, where we had War Flags back, we had, obviously the chairman of PIF was there, and just the whole everything. The Big River, Jimmy Neal, like it was just like, oh, unbelievable. That forever associate
and
that
the
song
PA
with that
bumping it in
moment.
just as it was getting to the
Yeah. Oh, it was amazing, absolutely amazing. Like, even I think, but I'd never heard that song before until that was played, and then straight into Spotify, and it's on part of the playlist now.
How can you call yourself a Newcastle fan if you did not know Big River?
Because I wasn't 20 in the 80s. You know what I mean? Like I was only 2
You
years
don't
old.
need to be 20. Do you know Blade? Did you know Blade and Races?
Yeah, but people don't sing that on the chant, on the sidelines. But no, takeover was obviously
Jimmy
massive.
will be coming after you.
Bring it
with
on.
his crocodile shoes.
I think obviously some of the signings, Bruno, big signing, was a huge point. Arsenal game was fantastic. Yeah, atmosphere was great and performance was great. But I actually think the biggest moment for me, and the moment I went most wild in, was the Bruno winner against Leicester. That last minute, 94th minute diving header, because it was quite an even game. Well, it was a very even game. And it wasn't. I know we were still looking to pick up points, but we weren't in a desperate situation at that point. It was kind of in the middle of the run, and we weren't desperate to win.
That result made, in my mind, went, we're safe.
Yeah, it did. But because we won it, and I think it was kind of, the game was going nowhere. Then Willock picks the ball up, drives down the left-hand side. The crowd's like, oh, come on, little deflection. And then Bruno pops up after a man-of-the-match performance and bangs it in the top corner with his head. And that's probably the most wild, I think, at home anyway, I've gone in the stadium, or anyone has gone this season.
I think Arsenal could give it a run.
I think it was just the way it was, the last minute, a diving header, and it was just kind of like literally the last kick of the game.
No one was really expecting it, were they? I think that I remember the ball seemed to stay up in the air for a good 50 minutes. I was sat in the stand, and I already had someone behind us grab my collar, and I was like, I think somebody else anticipated it before me, and then I only went about 3 rows in front of us. But anyway, that was fun.
Well, you shouldn't have wore your Sunderland top then.
I was just getting beaten up.
Yeah, but I also think it's proven by the fact that that's probably the game or the clip I've watched back the most. Like over the course of the whole season, I've watched that clip with Matthew Raisbeck commentary on it. I don't know, 100 times maybe. Like I love it. It was such a good moment.
I watch all of them. Everton at home, Villa at home.
Everton at home. I do watch that quite a bit.
Norwich away. Yeah. See, there's so many games that you look at and you go at. It's hard to pick a moment, but for me, I probably got to agree with you, Ben, that the takeover is the moment of the season, because without the takeover, you didn't have Eddie Howe. You wouldn't have had Kieran Trippier. You wouldn't have had Dan Burn. You wouldn't have had Bruno. You wouldn't have had the wonderful win at Leeds. You wouldn't have had the wonderful wins against Everton or Villa. You wouldn't have had the last-minute winner against Leicester. You wouldn't have had the 2-0 win against Arsenal, and you wouldn't have had the position where we are now, where Dan Ashworth coming in. We're looking at signing probably a very highly rated young talent, because we probably would have been in the Championship with Steve Bruce. if that hadn't happened. And that's the thing that we're looking at, because it was a very, even when Eddie Howe came in, when we're coming up to Christmas, it was a very real possibility that we would still be going down.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone, richest club in the Championship. Well, we're not.
Yeah.
And we won't be. So I just think that's the pivotal moment on there. And I just think it's one of those things that it lifted a massive weight, which has held this club down and the fan base for 14 years. And it's because of that, you've now got Wolf Flags back. You've now got the amazing atmospheres.
Yeah.
And like I said, Bruno, probably was thinking, I had to think, as he said, I had to think long and hard about coming here. I had sleepless night. He's not having them now. Well, he probably is now, but it's probably more because he's on the drink and down the big market all the time, with all the wins that we've had. But that's the thing. So he's now, so when his mate Paqueta came over for a kickabout, for his birthday, he's probably going, you need to come and sign here, mate. Honestly, it's just unbelievable. He's probably even spoke to Ekatike, with him being a fan saying, look, honestly, you need to come here. You might have thought it was a risk in January. It's not now. And I think even that's another thing. I think Hugo Ekatike probably in January thought, there's still a massive risk of us them going down. Do I really want to go there? Now he's thinking, well, I've had that extra half a season with Rams. I'm now in a position now where I'm thinking, do you know what? Let's go.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we're getting all these things right. We're actually getting people who know about football into footballing positions.
Yeah.
I know it's strange, because we used to leave Johnny doing everything. So it is, and I just think, it's all that. But the training ground, we're getting rid of the bins and the paddling pools, for Christ's sake.
Oh God, not the bloody bins.
No, so it is that, Which, by the way, Sunderland, if you do need them for your championship stay, we will give you them for a very reasonable fee.
Without doubt, it's the most important part of the season. Quick question, reverse that. So those were our peaks. What were your pits? What was the worst part of the season? Worst moment of the season?
The draw against Watford was pretty pitiful.
Yeah,
I think that was quite a low moment, wasn't it? Because it was almost like, I feel like it was almost sealed with fate at that point, in my head at least. Well, obviously we didn't, but it was just one of those games where you just thought we're gonna have to win this, otherwise.
I think Wolves away 1-0.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry, no, 2-1, wasn't it?
Yeah, because Hendrick scored.
Because I think Hendrick put in the lead, didn't he? And then things went down. So the fact that even Jeff Hendrick scoring wasn't a high point for winning that. and it was just that, it was probably the low point, because you were just sitting there probably at that point thinking we're going down.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't a good game. And funny enough, that was the last game that we had, obviously, before the takeover happened there. So the lowest point seemed, for me, coincided with the lowest point and then the highest point straight after.
It's always darkest before the dawn. There you go. Exactly what it was.
Darker than anything, I think. There's no lights anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. The Wolves game was horrific.
Didn't do bad for that lad who got Bournemouth relegated.
No, not at all.
Considering he made those, I can't believe he actually made those comments. At first, I remember thinking it was actually made up, because I was like, "There's no way he's actually said that." But never mind.
Yeah,
glad we are where we are now, at least.
But he's history.
Yeah. No,
we are going to move on, because we probably went over a little bit longer than what we normally would, and I want to get back and watch some football whilst there's still an opportunity to. So what we'll do is we'll say good night from us. We'll see you next Wednesday for another one of these. We might have 3 or 4 new signings to talk about by that time. You never know. Well, I probably didn't think Ashworth would be appointed. So fingers crossed. Let's hope we've got a couple of signings. We might have some more things to talk about. But if you are watching this on the repeat or watching it back, drop us comments below. Just let us know how you're doing. This is still new to all of us. So we are a work in progress. But thank you for watching. Thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of the evening.